Welcome to the Miami Heat Zone podcast. We are pushing to 7,000 subscribers. Make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button, and thank you guys for all the support. And today we also have Amir from the Team to Beat Miami Heat. Make sure that you guys subscribe to his channel. And today we have a WSVN legend in the building, Josh Moser. Josh, just let the people know real quick, just about what you do there and, like everything that you got going on.
Sure. Legend is a strong word, but very grateful to be here. So I guess I'm one of the people that are actually in the building, get to talk to the players, get to talk to the staff. I'm the sports director of the Fox affiliate, will also be the ABC affiliate here in August in Miami, and have been covering the team since the end of 2020. So right after the championship run to the bubble. Before that, I was in Milwaukee covering Giannis and the Bucks, and then prior to that, I was in Denver with the Nuggets when they were absolute trash. But born and raised in LA, been a sportscaster now for 15 years, both locally, nationally, and regionally, and have been in Miami now for coming up on 5 years. So was there when Jimmy hit the shot to beat the Bucks, the crazy winner in the first round, was there all the way through the NBA Finals, and then have been here for kind of the ups and downs of the last couple of years, and the big off season. That's the question now. Heat Nation's wanting to get back in it, but it seems like this team's just stuck in basketball purgatory right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned Giannis and the Bucks because obviously a lot of the noise this offseason is around Giannis potentially requesting a trade, and I can't see why he wouldn't because they don't really have the avenue to improve the team. I mean, unfortunately, Dame, tore his Achilles at age 35. He's going to probably miss the entire season, but even if he comes back, at what level are we going to see him at? And they don't have their a first round tradable pick until the 2031 season. So I think he's going to request a trade personally. And so
You're on mute, Amir.
Oops, Amir, we lost you. Yeah, there we go.
Gotcha. So I wasn't muted the whole time, right?
Yeah, we lost you, and you think he's going to request a trade.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank God. So he has a big meeting this week with the Bucks front office. So we should hopefully get some more information this week. But what are your thoughts on the Miami Heat's chance of landing him? I don't think the Miami Heat realistically have a chance, but if we do, how do we compete with an offer against teams like the Spurs or the Rockets or Thunder that have way more draft capital, but also young players and solid veterans they can add in a deal?
Yeah, I mean, look, you could say that Tyler Herro's from Milwaukee and that he would, love to go back home, and that's a good fit. But the reality is that as long as Pat Riley's here, I don't see them trading Tyler Herro simply because Pat Riley's openly said that Tyler Herro is his favorite player. Pat Riley wishes that he were Tyler Herro. He wishes his game was like that. Look, the Heat are going to be in the mix, but like you said, I just don't think that they have enough assets. And in an ideal world, they would like to trade Giannis to a Western Conference team simply because they don't have to run through him in the playoffs. I really think that Jason Tatum's injury is also going to impact this trade market because the Celtics, what are they going to do? And I'm kind of curious to see, because you have two potential blow-up situations where they're so far over the cap in Boston. What is Brad Stevens going to do there? And then with the Bucks, what could you put around Giannis? And they're kind of in cap hell here, especially with Dame. So are they really risking to blow this whole thing up? And Milwaukee's a tough market. Players just honestly don't want to play there. I lived in Green Bay for a long time covering the Packers, and it's hard. PJ Tucker, a former Heat player, and he was in Milwaukee for a bit, and he's like, look, man, there's one restaurant, and that's it. And I know we're focused on the talk on the court and all of that, but there's a lot of things behind the scenes that players really like. You could even say, you've heard former players talk about they don't want to come to Miami because they don't want to go through the rigorous conditioning because they feel like they can get 4 or 5 good years more if they were to play somewhere else instead of going to the Heat and burning out their bodies. So you just have to kind of find the right fit. I think Miami's got 3 tradable first-round picks. You've got the expiring contract with Rozier. You've got the expiring contract with Duncan Robinson. But you'd have to give up probably Khalil Ware, Bam Adebayo, and or Tyler Herro, 2 of the 3, plus 3 picks, plus cap to offset Giannis' salary. And I just don't think that that's enough, especially given that there's so much capital. Brooklyn's got so much. You mentioned the Spurs have so much. It's kind of funny, though. You lose that play-in game, and that was the spot that Dallas had. Now, I think people would say that if the Heat were in that position to get the number one pick, like, it wouldn't have happened. But you potentially could have had the number one pick. Then I think a Giannis trade becomes very reasonable. I think that becomes a lot more realistic, but that's not the case. So they'll listen to everything, but I think Kevin Durant honestly makes more sense. I know that's not what you're probably wanting to hear, but I mean, Giannis would really have to say, I want to go to Miami. And I know that there's tax incentives and you're going to hear all of the media, but the Heat, even through the agents, they're very, very tight-lipped. And the stuff that is getting leaked out for the most part with the agents that I have relationships with and just covering the Heat, like, it's all chatter being done on purpose to just kind of feel out where the other teams are. So, I wouldn't expect any movement prior to the draft. And, but as we get close to the draft, we'll see. But I know that they evaluated at the combine, and it's just you're not going to get a franchise-changing player at 20. You're just not. So we'll see what happens. But I just don't think that they have enough to package anything together to get Giannis. I'm just being honest with you.
I agree.
So Josh, you really mentioned how you were pretty much, with the Miami Heat since the bubble and everything like that. Like, what is your opinion on Jimmy Butler, how he left? Do you think that Pat Riley was wrong not to pay him? Do you think that Jimmy Butler was, low managing during the regular season? What is your perspective on Jimmy Butler? Because I think there's no NBA superstar that could have done what he did with, the undrafted guys and with the injuries and everything going on like that. So what do you think about Jimmy Butler? Should the Miami Heat have paid him or not?
I think ultimately they made the right move. That being said, Jimmy Butler got exactly what he wanted, which was the max contract extension. So people might say that they didn't like the way in which he went about it, but he completely accomplished his goal. So if you want me to timeline this, it really goes back to when Jimmy single-handedly lifted the team to the finals in 2023. Then you come back, and he wanted that max extension that next summer when he got hurt in the play-in game versus Philadelphia, and then they lost in the first round. And that's when Pat Riley came out and said, basically, shut your mouth unless you're playing. And so Jimmy wanted that extension then. And I think it made sense then to give him that extension. But the Heat didn't know what was going to happen because he was coming off of injury. He was aging out. Are you really going to commit another $150 million to this guy that's going to show up for half the regular season, but he's going to be great in the playoffs? Jimmy is a different guy, but the Heat know that. Like during the playoffs, Jimmy normally wouldn't fly with a team. He would not stay at the team hotel. He would have his own place. So there were a lot of behind the scenes thing where Jimmy was just kind of doing his own thing. And then it really went awry when they gave Bam the max contract because Jimmy basically said, that was my money. You're choosing Bam over me. And then they're like, you know what? I'm not going to opt into my player option. I'm going to have a great year coming back. And then, I'm going to get my max extension. So then Jimmy started great and then he got hurt again. And then that's when the trade, talks happened. And that's where he sat out and that's where he did this. But he forced his way and he got what he wanted. It's just unfortunate. I wish it were handled differently, but, I think it is what it is. I think Jimmy arguably is one of the best Heat players of all time. In the short time that he was here, he's special in the playoffs. But you also saw in Golden State that without Steph Curry, like Jimmy couldn't do it by himself. And so I just didn't see the Heat with Jimmy and with the core that they had. Like you weren't good enough to be at the top of the East. So
then do you think that Heat culture has to change? Because I know a lot of people will say, that Heat culture is rigorous when Josh, to be honest with you, I honestly just think that the rest of the league, they're a bunch of divas to a certain degree, only because think about it. All Pat Riley really wants you to do is be in shape and really just put in some hard work for the most part. Yes, they took, the cookies off the plane back then, like with LeBron James and all those crazy things, or probably, following people around. But I just think in terms of Jimmy Butler said it out of his own mouth, the Miami Heat allowed me to be me. And he didn't say that anywhere else. So I just think it's like, even though we might have a bad reputation, I think we can still get stars to Miami. So, like, what do you think about Heat culture? There's some people that want Pat Riley fired. There are some people that want Spo fired. Like, where do you stand, like, with the organization and like Heat culture?
I would just say that the athlete has changed over the last 5 years, and I think NIL has a huge part of that. You're getting players that have basically been given everything their entire life, especially when you're talking about these first round picks. They haven't had to really do anything. Their life has been grafted. They go to college for that 1 year. They're making more money sometimes in college than they will on their first NBA contract, especially these second round picks. We're really seeing this in the NFL. I mean, a best example, there's this kid, Jackson Campbell, that just signed with Miami, and he's 16 years old out of Missouri, offensive line. He's going to make $2.5 million as a 17-year-old. The second round pick for the Dolphins, that's an offensive guard out of Arizona, is making 2.8. So this guy, as a high school kid, is basically making the same amount of money as a second round rookie draft pick, which is crazy. So I think it's different. And the players themselves, like, they don't view it like the fans. Like, James Harden back in the day, I've known him from a long time, just growing up in Los Angeles. I mean, you're living the life. It's the NBA life. And, they don't care about what the fans care about. And so there has to be a balance between the new generation, we'll call it Gen Z basketball player, and the old school organization. It's really like, if you want to look at corporate America as a good analogy, here you have all of these young people, but the people making decisions are the people that are 2-3 years away from retirement. So they don't want to invest or have something fall off on their own watch, so they keep the ship where it is. And we know that Pat Riley has said that he wants to go 2 more years, and that would mean that there's a 2-year window to win a championship. That's why I think Durant makes the most sense with pieces that you have in place. It's just mathematically the best fit. But you're going to have to find a way to cater a little bit more to this new generational style of player, or you're just simply going to have to find the players that fit your system. And the Heat were successful at that. Max Strus was great for them. Obviously, he outplayed the contract. I think there was a mistake made with Caleb Martin on his agent's part. He had a better deal to stay in Miami. He left. He's a piece that they're missing. Jaime Jaquez, unfortunately, had this sophomore slump. We knew that he had a really high floor, that he was going to come in good as a rookie, but you got to maximize your trade value. And right now, there really isn't anything for him. So you're going to kind of have to find these diamonds in the rough if you want to go with this Heat culture, or you're going to have to find, I think Davion Mitchell's a great find. I think that they should offer him that restricted free agent. They should match whatever it is, mid-level exemption. I think he's deserving of that. I think he fits really well. But you're going to have to balance it. And I know everyone wants Spo to go upstairs. You could argue that this is one of his worst seasons on the sidelines. And I know that he had a lot of personal stuff going on this past year off the court, but you saw him make mistakes that you've never seen him make before, and they were glaring. And I think this organization will look at how they want to structure things moving forward, but as long as Pat Riley is there, it's going to be Pat's way. So I hope that answered the question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, I just think it's like, when you look at the landscape of the NBA, like I said, Miami, like, is a great place to come to, but it all comes down to, because you made a really good point. There's like a lot of players, they might like Miami, but they don't want to go through like the strength and conditioning. They don't want to have to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like a different culture, like when you look at the Miami aspect. But go ahead, Amir.
Yeah, sure. So with Tyler's future with the Miami Heat, it's been a hot topic for a while now, and he's going to be coming up for a max extension in the next few seasons, and we know he wants it, obviously. How do you see him fitting into the team's future? Because I personally think he's a number 3 on a contending team. I think Bam is also a number 3, so I think we have 2 third options.
Oh wow!
I mean, it depends on who we have, but if you put like an Anthony Edwards type of superstar on this team, I think Tyler could be slotted at number 2. Perhaps Bam could be our number 3, but
yeah.
At best, we have a 2 and a 3 on our team, I think, and we obviously need that superstar. I don't even know if Kevin Durant fits into that mold theoretically as a 1A anymore. He could be a 1B still. He's still one of the best, most efficient scorers at age 36. But what are your thoughts on his role, obviously, especially after he evolved into an all-star?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this was his best season as a pro, but I'm with you. I see him as a 2, like a 1B, and it's no knock on Tyler. I think he was phenomenal in that 6-man role. Obviously, won 6-man of the year, and he's a really really good player. But what is his actual ceiling? Like, is he going to get you 30 a night like SGA? Is he at that level? And as of right now, no. And the thing with Tyler, I love him to death. I covered him since high school when he was at Whitnall in Milwaukee. He likes the ball in his hands, and you've got to find, when you have, that's why it didn't work with Jimmy. Like, the pieces you had, they had to be ball dominant. You've got to find guys like Josh Hart would be a perfect fit. We know that they've wanted him for a long time. They were very close on getting Harrison Barnes here in this offseason before a trade fell through. He would have been perfect. You just got to find those complementary guys. I believe October, Tyler has an option for, I think it's like $150 million extension, which would be good based off of the salary cap if you want to go from a pure business perspective. Because as soon as this new NBA TV deal is signed, the salary cap, I mean, we're going to see players making, your superstars will make $90 million a year. So to get Tyler at 150 for 3 years, I mean, that's a steal. So he and Bam are aligned on the books for the next 2 seasons. So, I'd like to see them break them up. I doubt that they will, but I think if you really want to compete, you've got to move one of them and, hope that you can land a superstar. The question is do you have enough to do that, and who are you going to get? And with Riley, I know that he favors Herro, and Spo would favor Bam. But Bam has to play in the 4 spot like he did on the Olympic team. We saw flashes where Khalil Ware was on the floor. It's kind of the opposite of Hassan Whiteside. It was Bam went the anti-route of that. They made him everything that he wasn't. But now, you need another big. And, we're seeing it in this series here in Indiana. We'll see what they do with Miles Turner. That's an interesting matchup with Karl Anthony Towns. But you need another guy because Bam is great defensively, but he can't do it on both ends of the floor. He needs help. So that's who are you going to bring in? Who are you going to get? So as of right now, you're looking at the teams in the West. Like, I know the teams in the East just really don't want to deal. And then you can count out Danny Ainge at Utah because he just won't deal with Pat Riley or the Heat just out of spite because he's that petty. So, yeah, I really don't see any moves that really vault this team to the top 2 in the East that you can do this summer. Like, that's it. Like, Orlando's pretty much set. They have an identity. Indy has an identity. But for the most part in the East, like 5 through 10, they have no idea who they are. Throw Atlanta in that mix. Boston, we don't know now. So, yeah, it's just tough. You need another guy. And the question is who are they going to get? And they've got to find another. I love Pell. I think Pell could be a piece. We just need to see him develop. But with Spo, like, they don't want to work him in right away. I think Khalil Ware should have been starting day 1, and they made him work for it, but he needed those reps. But that's those are the decisions that they make. They're the coach. I'm the broadcaster.
So once again, Josh, thank you so much for coming on the show. Please let the people know where can they find you.
Yeah, you can find me across social media at the Mose Knows. My name is Josh Moser. So with a little social media, the Mose Knows. Hopefully, I know a little something. Shout out to my old high school coach for coming up with that. It's been running for like 20 years now. But yeah, hopefully this helped. Hopefully you learned something. But any questions, holler. Happy to jump on anytime. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Josh, once again, thank you guys so much. Guys, make sure that you guys go over to his platforms, like, share, comment, subscribe, and thank you guys for all the support.
Appreciate you.